He's Locked On NBA Game Night podcast. Who are the breakout players for this upcoming season, and who should you be buying stock on?
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night, tipping off now.
Let's get it going on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast. We're talking about the upcoming NBA season on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we're here with Gavin, Schall, host of Locked On Knicks. I'm Rylan, Stiles, host of Locked On Thunder, your Saturday duo. And Gavin had the idea to draft upcoming breakout players in the NBA. And I think that this is going to be a lot of fun, Gavin. I really think that we're just around the bend from getting into season preview time and getting into the routine of an actual season. But another fun offseason content idea is to draft breakout players, because we have left this a surprise to ourselves and the audience of everybody can have a different version of what breakout means for them. Can you see a breakout from a year one to a year two? Can you see a breakout from a player who is already a really, really, really talented NBA player? Or can breakouts only happen from guys who you have a lot of questions about? I think it'll be a lot of fun to go through this list, Gavin, and draft our breakout players.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm glad, because we didn't talk about it too much before. I'm glad you approached this the same way, because I had some different categories of guys that are already maybe borderline considered stars, really young players, like mid-career guys who I think have another level in them. So I'm interested to debate with you, like what exactly merits a breakout.
Gavin, it's your idea. I will give you the first pick of the breakout player draft. Who do you got?
So I figured I'd throw the biggest names at the front. I wanted to open up with Franz Wagner, which I think is an interesting choice in the sense that he kind of already broke out last year, right? Made a 5-point leap from the previous season, 24 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, 5 assists per game, was up to 25 points per game in that series against the Celtics in the playoffs. Had that midseason stretch when Paolo Banchero was out where he looked maybe not even like an all-star, but more like a second team all-NBA type guy. It was capped by that game-winning, if I'm remembering correctly, step-back 3 against the Los Angeles Lakers. And this still sticks in my head because I went and I listened to the post-game. This is a great episode. Our buddy Philip Rossman-Reich, host of Locked On Magic, just did this whole episode saying, hey, this was Franz Wagner's star moment. And then, like so many guys in the Magic, right, he deals with an injury. They're reincorporating Paolo. The single biggest limiting factor for him really these last 2 years has been that three-point shot, right? First 2 years of his career, over 35% from three. He's a career 86% free throw shooter. So I don't think his touch is in question in any meaningful way. Seems like he always shoots the ball well when he's playing for the German national team. And yet it has just fallen off a cliff these last 2 seasons, right? 29% one year, 28% the other year. In the playoffs, just atrocious. He was 19%. And that was not like on 6 shots, right? That was on high volume against the Boston Celtics. And yet, if he can just figure out that hitch in his shot, and at times it looks almost better for him off the dribble when he's time to think about it, it kind of crops up. I think a lot of it's mental. I think work with the shooting coach over the offseason. I'm sure he's put the time in. It could all potentially click for him. The Magic are consistently substantially better, like double-digit net rating flips when he's on the floor versus when he's off. You cannot say the same about Paolo Banchero. I think the bet is that he becomes a legitimate superstar coming out of next season, recognized as a cross-the-board top 15 to 20 guy in the NBA, makes his first All-Star team, makes his first All-NBA team, and has a playoff moment that maybe gets the Orlando Magic back to the conference finals for the first time since the Dwight Howard era.
I mean, the Magic are certainly in line, and they need a big season. And for them to accomplish that, it would take a step forward from Franz Wagner. I do think that obviously health is a big deal. They both were not healthy a year ago, him and Paolo. But Paolo did kind of take a step forward, in my opinion, last year. I mean, getting up to 25 points per game. I think that there is still a step for Paolo, but I agree with you. I think that Franz is a breakout guy. Like Paolo, to me, can take a step forward, because to me, he can get to the free throw line more next season. You saw that incrementally jump for him each year. And that's what we know, that unlocks your points per game totals. Like if you get to the free throw line 10 times a game and you're the scorer of the caliber of Paolo, you're now averaging 30 points a night. And that's huge. And that puts you in a new tier of NBA player. But I think that will naturally come with his frame, with his skill set. And I think that that's just a step forward. With Franz becoming a legitimate top 10, top 15 guy in this league, that is a breakout to me. And I think that is achievable, not only because of his individual skill set, individual progression, but I just think that this team in Orlando makes a lot more sense this season than it did last season. Like last season, especially offensively, to highlight this stuff, it was not there. And now playing over next to Desmond Bane, Paolo Banchero, hopefully that two duo will be fully healthy the whole season. And then what they've done on the peripheries with their roster, I like what they've done. So I agree with that one. And I'm going to start with my biggest name as well. I'm going to go Victor Wembanyama, which is going to be one that I want to bring to the council to debate, because we were doing our top 100 list for Locked On NBA. We're going to release that closer to the season. First time we've had a top 100 list. I cannot wait to see the list. And where to put Victor, to me, is so fascinating heading into this season, just if you only are looking at the body of work that he's had in the NBA. I think that at the end of this season, he'll be a top 5 player in the league. Like, he'll be a top 5 player that no one even debates, nobody questions, nobody even argues with it. They just say, yeah, he's top 5. Does that constitute a breakout season if Victor takes that next step to being a solidified top 5 player in the league?
I think absolutely. Like, there's no argument against it. He clearly made a very big jump from year 1 to year 2, particularly like in his 3-point volume and his accuracy, his ability to get to that shot off the dribble. Chris Paul was huge for his game. He doesn't have that to lean on, though. De'Aaron Fox will certainly open up different things for Victor Wembanyama. The single biggest flip factor for me with him is his rim volume, right? It is astonishingly low for a guy who's the tallest player in the NBA, who has great hands, who has a great handle, who's a high level athlete. I mean, just an insanely high level athlete for someone that size. If he can up that rim volume, if him and De'Aaron Fox can become a legitimately dynamic pick and roll duo, right? Playing with the fastest point guard in basketball, a guy who's going to draw a whole lot of attention going downhill. If that generates higher volume, easy lob dunks for him around the basket, he's someone who should just be completely unstoppable around the rim, between the touch, between the length. If he can put that together along with arguably, maybe with the guy that I'm going to draft, who you're very familiar with, the best defensive player in basketball, I don't see any reason that he can't be like, I think the absolute ceiling there is probably the second best player in the NBA. Like, if he goes out and all of a sudden he's putting up 32, 14, couple of assists per game, I don't see a way where, like, just his savviness gets him ahead of Nikola Jokic. I think everyone else is a climbable mountain for him.
Yeah, and I think that with Victor, obviously he's led the league in his time playing in blocks per game. 3.6 as a rookie, 3.8 last year. Him being surrounded by better defenders this season, like I look at Carter Bryant and what he can do on the perimeter to funnel guys into Victor, I think it will accentuate Victor's defensive ability. And then offensively, you mentioned the pairing with De'Aaron Fox. They only got 4 games together. I still believe that that's going to end up being really good for him and help him ease into just easier points at the rim. And then from 3, he went from his rookie season 32% to last season 35% from 3. I think that there's another step forward in that category. So if you get to 38% from 3 this season, you go from a 24-point per game score, because he was shot 35% on 8 threes a game. If you can get to 38%, you can continue to climb the points per game. He's always going to have the rebounds. He's always going to have the blocks. The steals are going to be big for him for his position. And then, like you mentioned, the assists. I mean, now you're dishing it out. If you do get a dump down pass in the mid-range or something from Fox, you can kick it out now to guys like Dylan Harper and guys who can score the basketball to up your assist total, and then just simply playing more. Like 46 games last year, he was having a great season. It was just not enough to qualify for any of the awards or qualify for anything later in the season, where I think that the Spurs will be in front of the audience more. I think they're going to be a postseason team in some capacity, and I think that he's going to have a step forward to where then he will be considered a top 5 player in this league. So that's why I have him on this list. I'm glad that he still qualifies for a breakout player, and I'll give you the floor for your next pick.
Yeah, it's I think the guy who's going to go down as his greatest rival throughout his career. And again, I'll let you speak on it because you know better than I do. Chet Holmgren, I think, along with Wemby, establishes himself as the best defender in basketball. Crafted NBA, incredible site for NBA statistics. Had him as the league's best rim protector by a substantial margin. Like, he, even compared to Wemby, is almost in a category of his own in an ability to alter shots, to just ensure shots that would normally be taken are never even attempted, and guys are doing right. Like you always see with Wemby, right? Where like someone dribbling to the rim, full speed, like a dog going after a ball, and then Wemby or Chet just steps in and it's a 180, right? It's like, nope, I'm not challenging that. I think he's ready for more of those moments. We saw his ability to switch during the finals, like a couple of times where he won that battle and genuinely spooked Tyrese Halliburton. Moments throughout the playoffs, and certainly the second half of the year, I got to see him in Phoenix in a game without Shea, where he got to the free throw line a ton, where he looked more confident offensively. That's still my biggest question for him, right? Some of the self-creation stuff, high hips, usually not a great physical characteristic for someone who's looking to turn the corner off the dribble. And yet, I think if the three-point shot continues to improve and the volume continues to improve, he'll be able to attack closeouts. And just like exactly what we saw in the finals, where he's able to use his length and like creativity and footwork to just generate really clean looks around the basket, even if he doesn't necessarily have like the bag you look for in a traditional superstar. I think he makes a run at third-team All-NBA. I think he wins his first Defensive Player of the Year this season, and is maybe like the co-defining player along with Shea on what I expect to be another 65-plus win season for the Thunder.
So I love this pick. I really do. I think that when you look at Chet, what you saw him do defensively in the finals is almost underappreciated nationally, because you kind of forget in the midst of this season how much that he and the Thunder had to deal with injury-wise, because they still won 68 games. They still won the championship, and Chet played from February 7th all the way through the end of the season. But Chet Holmgren broke his hip on November 10th, and he was bedridden for most of this season. Then he comes back and he's able to play still, and he returned quicker to the floor than even the Thunder expected on their own individual internal timeline. And yet in the finals, after being bedridden for some of the season, he was being able to switch and lock down guys defensively. So I do think that this season he will show you that he's a top 3 defender in the NBA, and arguably the best defender in the NBA because of positional value of just being that rim protector that deters shots from even going up, that swats shots at the rim, and then of course can go out on an island at times that whenever you need him to. So that's going to be a big deal. The defense is there for me. Offensively, what happened in those 9 games before he broke his hip? In the 10th game, 5 minutes in, he was averaging 18 points per game, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2.9 blocks per game, while he was shooting 40% from 3, 52% from the floor, and he got to the free throw line 5 times a game. Now, getting back to that point, and that was a very small sample size, that was 9 games, but getting back to that point will probably be tough for him for a consistent season. But you look at what his offensive role will be for this Thunder team, a young team that's still going to take the regular season seriously and young enough to still play all their guys and not have a ton of maintenance days and not have a ton of days off for their core roster. You're going to see his offensive skill set be highlighted by SGA, by guys like J-Dub, because he can either hit that trailing 3, he can hit catch and shoot 3. We've seen him be able to attack off the catch at times, especially in that 9-game stretch. That's how he got to the free throw line a ton. And then any sort of pick and roll, pick and pop that can help his game with the gravity, scoring gravity that Shea and J-Dub have is going to be good for him as well. So I do think that with Chet Holmgren, this is a really good pick, because right now there's a point here where he's played 82 games his rookie season, but his true rookie season, he was, of course, out for the whole year with a Lisfranc fracture, and then last year he missed a lot of games with the hip fracture. So he's had 2 catastrophic injuries in the NBA that were just freak accidents, and you don't really know where to place him. I think that his role in this league and his positioning in this league will be defined this season, and so I think that that's why he does really constitute and merit a spot on the breakout player list. I really, really expect Chet Holmgren to take a step forward.
Yeah, I'm with you, and his offense at times just looks easy, and I want to see like how he can continue to add on the margins. I do think this is a guy at his peak. I don't know if it'll ever be needed in Oklahoma City, but he could average like an efficient 24 points per game, and I wonder how close he gets to that next year.
So I'm going to bring another controversial into the council of Alperen Sengun, Alperen Sengun. And when you look at him with Houston, everyone understands he's a really good player, and everyone understands that he's really, really talented. So this is more so like counting stats and ability to impact the game more so than elevating his status in the league. Because I don't think that there's anyone that's still a detractor of Sengun that doesn't think that he's a really good player. So I just think that when you're looking at him and the leap he can make. Can he make his first, all NBA team? Can he make his first, kind of burst onto the scene in that capacity? I think he can, because he's never played next to a guy like Kevin Durant, and just watching those two guys operate, both to highlight his playmaking ability, but also his scoring ability, to take some of the pressure off of him, and kind of the ability for defenses to swarm him, because he is such a talented passer playing next to Kevin Durant. I think that he'll have a big leap when it comes to the counting stats, and that could elevate his status. But I don't know if you'd call that a breakout. I think that this is kind of a big name that can go either way for me.
Yeah, some of the efficiency numbers, I mean, none of it was really bad for him last year.
Right.
But like second year in the league, he was 55% from the field. Third year in the league, 54%. Last season, all the way down to 49.6. Like we talked about it so often last season. That was just such an unhealthy offensive ecosystem last season. Like, just the attention that Kevin Durant's going to draw. I think more minutes for Reed Shepherd as someone who can legitimately space out to 28 feet will open up a little bit more room for him. And I think the game's just going to become a whole lot easier for him, and easier for him than it's ever been throughout his career. I think that those assist numbers that stagnated a little bit last year maybe tick up more to Domantas Sabonis territory, where instead of 5 a game, he's closer to 6 or 7 a game. I'm with you. I think he's a great candidate.
Yeah. I think that we've already seen him be extremely talented, and we've already appreciated his skill set, especially like within Houston, but nationally even, he's gotten some of that attention. I just think that as a one-time All-Star, last year, he's going to get back to that All-Star game. I think that this is his All-NBA season to take a step forward, because the numbers being down, I think was more indicative, like you mentioned, of the offensive product around him versus his skill set. Where now, playing with Fred VanVleet and Kevin Durant at the same time and not playing with Jalen Green is a big deal. You look at his numbers without Jalen Green on the court, he was really good. Like, those two guys were good individually of each other, or better. Each of them were better to any extent without each other. I think that opens some things up for him too. Coming up, let's continue on drafting breakout players with Gavin's next pick, and we're going to get into the weeds a little bit. Who are we going to take a long shot bet on in this breakout player draft? But first, I want to say right now, good friends over at Monarch Money, go check out Monarch Money today, because Monarch Money is fantastic, and you're going to want to see what they can do for you and your finances. Look, whenever you're looking at your financial accounts, it can be overwhelming at times, because you have properties, 401ks, investments. All of that is on one app. You get the big full picture on one app, and you can end up leaving money on the table if you're not monitoring all of them closely. And Monarch Money helps you monitor them all right in front of you on your own personal financing tool and app, all in one place. I also love the fact that whenever you input all of your situations into Monarch Money, it takes a few minutes. And once you do that, they give you a full visualization of your finances, including your budget and your spending, and including stuff like your subscriptions. I've been there a lot, where I sign up for something and the subscription service keeps charging you, and you even forget that you have that subscription service. You don't even use it anymore. And Monarch Money can flag those things for you and allow you to save money that way, on top of managing your bigger financial opportunities and things like that. So do not let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com from your browser or on your phone for half off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast, talking about breakout players for this upcoming season with Gavin, Schall, Locked On Knicks, Rylan, Stiles, Locked On Thunder, your Saturday duo. Gavin, who's your next pick for the breakout player draft?
Yeah, so another guy you're painfully familiar with in this case. I'm going to go with Andrew Nembhard. Just feels like an obvious one to me. No Tyrese Halliburton, and we've seen the way he can elevate his game in big moments. Like, I immediately go to his three-point shooting numbers. Back-to-back years, second and third season in the NBA in the regular season, right around 2.5 attempts per game. His second year in the NBA, shot 36% from three. Last season, he was all the way down to 29% from three. And you're looking at that and you're saying, all right, that 23-24 playoffs, right, where he shot one more three and his percentage dropped by 13%. He was 48% from three in the playoffs in 23-24. You're like, all right, that was a fluke. And then what does he do? Again, he takes one more three a game, exactly one more three a game. And he shoots 46.5%, up from 29% in the regular season. Maybe he's just cursed in the regular season. I do think there's something about him getting a little bit more time on the ball, a little bit more time to find a rhythm. I expect the three-point volume to go up. I expect the accuracy maybe did not hit those just like unbelievable playoff numbers, but to be a little bit better. For my money, he's already one of the like 5 or so best guard defenders in the NBA. The work he did on Jalen Brunson in Game 6, I have never seen a like-sized player in a big game guard Jalen Brunson that well. Like he dominated that matchup, and because of it, Indiana was able to dominate Game 6. It's kind of a question of like, all right, I was talking to Tony East about this Locked on Pacers host the other day. You add to his load offensively. Can he still play that same level of defense, right? So many times there's a trade-off there, but if you could balance those two, like he's going to have a dark horse case as an all-star. I'm just in love with him as a player. I think he is fantastic. And I think he's going to have the best year of his career.
I completely agree. And we've seen this story play out before for other players, right? You have a massive postseason where you're kind of the talk of the town for a deep playoff run. And then the next season, it parlays itself into success in the following regular season and kind of launches you into another tier of player, of production, of whatever it is. So I think that you've hit the nail on the head. And you mentioned kind of someone needing to step up for the lack of Halliburton, and Rick Carlisle putting guys in such great position is another note that I think is important for Nembhard and for this Pacers team, that they're going to figure out ways to be a solid basketball team. And it starts with Nembhard, and I think that he's going to be able to get it done on this side of things for Indiana. Now, my next pick will be back in Oklahoma City with Cason Wallace. And I think that Cason Wallace, he's viewed as a fine player, and he's viewed as a really good defender right now. And that's all true. His defense is all based upon like natural instinct right now. And he mentions how he doesn't really watch film a ton, and how his kind of just playing and reacting. I think that as you mature throughout your career, you do start to watch more film. You do start to have more of those kind of habits, to where I wonder if there is another step for him to take defensively. But even if this is just who he is defensively, he's already one of the best point of attack defenders in the league with his size and with his skill set. I look at the offensive side of the floor. He's never averaged double-digit points, but you look at what he did from the corner from three his rookie season, 44%. Really good on 120 shots. Last season on 97 shots from the corner, he shot 34%, a 10 percentage point decrease. On non-corner threes, he went from 39% to 37%, and that ultimately ends up in 42% from three rookie season to 36% from three last season. And as you know, these are quality-looking threes, especially the ones that he finds in the corners with this Thunder offense. It's a lot of drive and kick stuff from J-Dub and from Shea. I think that he's proven to you throughout his basketball life as like a prospect in high school, to where he was at Kentucky, to where he was as a rookie, that he has the ability to shoot the basketball. He has the ability to convert more from three. And I think that you're going to see him convert more from three this season and get past that threshold of being a double-digit scorer. And then last year, while he did take a step back from three, he took a step forward when it comes to playing off the catch and getting toward the rim and trying to be a facilitator for this team, improving his assists by a whole assist per game with, of course, the limited usage because of who's around him. And then, improving his three-point volume by a couple threes per game. I think that all those things will be able to help him not only average, 12 points per game, but evolutionize who he is in a contract year and how he's viewed in a contract year for this upcoming season, and just become a more impactful player.
Yeah, I think my only concern there is like role for him. And just because Oklahoma City brings everyone back, obviously they're trying to incorporate Topic and another guy who's going to earn some minutes at that guard spot. I like his game. He's just exceptionally fluid. Big Game 7 for them, right? 10 points, 4 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from three. He could make a name for himself defensively. It's just so hard to stand out on, as you've said a million times, rightfully the deepest team in the NBA. Someone I think who could have a little bit more of an opportunity. Very similar to Andrew Nembhard, Payton Pritchard in Boston. It's been reported that he will likely start. Anthony Simons will likely come off the bench. The Celtics, I think rightfully believe that he's earned this. He's deserved it with the years he's put in their system. Grossly underpaid. So maybe that's another way they're trying to make it up to him on that 4-year, I think $32 million contract. I mean, it makes my blood boil as a Knicks guy, Rylan, to even say that. But let me throw you some of the numbers. He was already 10th in the NBA last season in 3-point attempts per 36 minutes. I think Joe Mazzulla empowers him to set a record this year, right? I think it was Steph Curry led the NBA with 12 last year. I wouldn't be surprised if Payton Pritchard's shooting 14 threes a game next season if he gets enough time on the ball. And look, with everything they moved off of, essentially do not have a big man rotation, right? He is the clear-cut third option behind Jaylen Brown and Derek White. And I would argue on some nights he's going to be the second option behind Jaylen Brown on that team. He was the most efficient scoring point guard in all of basketball last season, right? 1.28 points per shot attempt. That means every time he shot the ball, you got almost a point and a half. That is absolutely insane. He was 100th percentile in effective field goal percentage, 75% at the rim. That again was, I think, the best or one of the best, or it wasn't the best. It was one of the best numbers for any point guard in basketball last season. His 53% from mid-range was the best number for any point guard in basketball last season, 41% from three on ridiculous volume. I do think the efficiency maybe falls off a drop, and maybe even a little bit more than a drop, but it's starting off at such a high point. I think he's going to put up something like 20, 22 points per game, depending on how much they split him and Simons up, and maybe make a dark horse run at an all-star berth.
I really like that pick, and I really do think that Boston will be better as a team than a lot of people just believe because they've kind of written them off after the Tatum injury. So that helps his case as well with the surprising team success that I think that he'll be a massive part of. But coming up, let's wrap up this breakout player draft. We're back on the Locked On NBA Game Night podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Go check out the Locked On Knicks podcast for what the New York Knicks are going to do this season with the Eastern Conference so wide open. We just talked about Boston kind of being out of the contention picture. What are the Knicks going to do? How are they going to take a step forward? Check them out. Now, my pick in this draft is DeAndre Ayton right here. I'm going to take DeAndre Ayton for the Lakers because he's someone who's been beaten down this offseason and his whole career, really. He's been beaten down and talked bad about, but I still believe that the talent is in there. I think that there's a reason why, he was always viewed as such a high prospect in his draft class, and he did go number one overall, partly because of the Suns' bad front office at the time and ownership at the time, but also because he has a lot of talent. And I think that if you were going to just tailor-make a partner for him in this league, it would be Luka Doncic that can really highlight his skill set with Luka's scoring gravity and passing ability and lob throwing ability. That I just think that whenever you've been so downtrodden as a player and you've been so besmirched, and I'm not saying that the criticism of Ayton is wrong. What he's done to himself has brought all this on. This is not a poor, pitiful DeAndre Ayton, but that does at some point have to light a fire under you. And I know that people don't believe he can ignite a fire, but I do. I think that whenever you're desperate, you play some of your best basketball. And for all intents and purposes, he's in a contract season, and he's in a defining season for if he's going to stick around the NBA and if he's going to be the player that people think he can at an impact level. And I think that this season, that desperation mixed with the partnership of Luka Doncic is going to see him play a more determined style of basketball, a more impactful style of basketball, a more productive style of basketball. And for all those reasons, scoring at the rim, especially next to Luka, I think that he's going to break out and just kind of show you that he can be a really good NBA player.
Yeah, this is both easily my favorite pick of the draft and in some ways my least favorite pick of the draft as someone who rooted for the Phoenix Suns. And DeAndre Ayton, I wanted Luka Doncic in that draft, still get a little upset, right? It makes the heart race a little bit. I think that his free throw numbers for his career are embarrassing. He's never shot more than 3 free throws a game as just like this incredibly fluid, mobile, 7-foot, 250-pound Goliath. His last 2 years in Portland, Ryan, peaked at 1.5 free throws per game, never developed the 3-point shot, only 14 points per game last year, tying a career low. And yet, to your point, like there is no better player for big man rehab than Luka Doncic, right? He can make Jackson Hayes look like a capable starting center. And DeAndre Ayton is just in a different stratosphere of talent. I'm with you. Like he said when he was coming to the NBA, my motivation is getting to a second contract. Maybe his new motivation is getting to a third contract. And to your point, making a little bit more money. I think Luka will do a lot for him. I'm really intrigued to see those two in the short roll game, right? Getting DeAndre Ayton those 10 to 18-foot jumpers where he's really money in that area. Playing with LeBron obviously doesn't hurt either. I could see him having a career year and getting up to 18 points per game again, bouncing back from an efficiency standpoint after 3 straight years where his field goal percentage dropped. Overall, I'm talking myself into it. I like the pick. All right, I'll call it my second to last pick because I have 2 more guys I'm really passionate about. I'm going to throw Lonzo Ball out there.
Yeah.
And this is a challenging one, right? Because Lonzo it's possible. Like a lot of people thought his career was over. I believe there was just like essentially no cartilage left at his knee. If I'm remembering correctly, when he came back for the Bulls last year, under 37% from the field, just 34.5% from three after he was a 42% three-point shooter the last time we saw him healthy in Chicago in 21-22. Like, it's possible that this guy just is not quite an NBA player anymore with all the issues. And yet, I cannot give up on him. I broadcast a bunch of his games at UCLA, my senior year in college, his freshman year in college. And he, to this day, is just one of the most intelligent, intuitive basketball players I've ever seen. Like, just magic out there on the basketball court. It reminds me of Bill Walton's career trajectory in some ways, a fellow Bruin. And to be clear, like in a much lighter version, because peak Bill Walton is probably one of the 20 or so greatest players, maybe 25 to ever play this game. And yet I always think about Bill Walton on the 1986 Celtics, right? Diminished version of himself, could barely move out there. And yet he just found like his basketball soulmate in that Boston Celtics team, in Larry Bird. And I can't help but think that this Cavs team is just the perfect fit for him, right? With the way they move the ball, that beautiful game that Kenny Atkinson has incorporated. I'm looking forward to those 3-guard lineups, right? Him, Garland, Mitchell, throw in DeAndre Hunter, throw in Evan Mobley, and let's have a ball. I think that 5-man grouping is going to blow teams out of the water. At 6'6", he could credibly guard a good chunk of threes. At his best, a very talented defender. I think the 3-point shot comes back, the 3-point volume comes back, and just you're going to see some great hit-aheads in transition, some lobs to Donovan Mitchell. I think he's just going to play some beautiful ball this year.
I love this pick, and I think that everything you said is 100% right. And because you're so right, I'm trading you my pick. I will have the first overall pick in next week's draft. You have the pick right here to get your last one out.
All right. First, I appreciate that, Rylan. Honorable mentions, Jaden McDaniels. I thought he was great in the playoffs. Really added to his game, ability to attack closeouts, some in-between game. Go check out our friends over at No Ceilings. They wrote a great article breaking down Brandon Miller. I think he puts it all together this year. His assist rate sneakily made a big jump last year. I think that continues. Matas Buzelis, big final 35 games or so of last season. I think he's going to be awesome. But another guy, Rylan, who went against your Thunder, Terrence Shannon Jr. is my breakout that barely got to play as a rookie just because the Wolves are right up there with your Thunder as the deepest team in the NBA. And yet I think he is a perfect replacement for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I think maybe he competes with his own teammate, Naz Reid, and makes a run at 6th man of the year. He just, like, in very limited minutes in that Western Conference Finals, like he looked like a star to me in some ways. I know that's so weird to say about someone who doesn't enter the NBA until they're 24 years old. He's only going to play a limited role, but his athleticism, his length, like the coiled strength, like he is not huge, but he is just freaking strong. Like, people bounce off him. He was dunking on guys in summer league. He was throwing live dribble, one-handed lefty whip passes to the corner. The 3-point shot looked really clean for him. He looks enormous out there at time, listed as 6'6", looks bigger than that. The shot looks effortless. His defense is good. He, to me, is like a quintessential 16-game player that the Minnesota Timberwolves just continue to accumulate. Shout out to Tim Connolly in that front office. I think he is going to be a really key piece on a really underrated Minnesota team next year.
Another great pick, another fun show. Drop below your breakout players in the comment section. And until next time, be good and be good to one another.